You practice? Yes. Who's your teacher? You have many teachers. You teach him?
No,
In school?
Sunday school kids, they will learn in temple.
Okay.
They themselves will learn.
Are you going to be a good mridanga player when you grow up? If you practice and you have a good teacher.
You brought this from your previous class.
Here's a little information for you. There's a devotee, teenager. He's good. Right now, he's in Radhadesh Mellows. You know where that place is? Radhadesh is a nice temple. Yeah. And he's participating in that Radhadesh Mellows, and he's like superlative. And one of his plans is he's going to take a break from school, from his college days, and go to Vrindavan and learn mridanga playing all over again. And the picture that he has on his phone is Indra. You know who Indra is, right? Your dad will tell you who Indra is. He's Kirtan Plus, and he's really good, and he's going to learn all over again. So you may think, practice with a good teacher, and there's a lot of kirtan waiting for you. Okay. Prayers of Prahlada Maharaj. Continued. On Thursday evening, we discussed 2 verses while visiting in Ypsilanti, and those younger generation devotees, I anticipated they would want to ask a lot of questions, and they asked a lot of questions, so we only covered 2 verses, so I continued those 2 verses that we were going to discuss in Ypsilanti, the first 2 verses for here. And then another class worth of verses, because the way my observation is, the way this is structured, the way the prayers of Prahlada Maharaj are structured, the way the chapter 9 of Canto 7 is structured, there's clusters of verses that take a theme, and then from different angles they express the theme. So the theme from Thursday is going to be continued over till today, and it's a big topic. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. I'm looking around the room to see any bells going off. What does Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva mean? What does it mean?
It's
Simple.
At the same time, it's one, and also it's different.
Okay. Inconceivably, simultaneously, one and different. Beta and abeta. Beta and abeta. Simultaneously at the same time. Like it says, there's a number of verses in the Upanishads, bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Right? Ishopanishad. He's within everything and he's outside of everything at the same time. Wow. No, there's contradictions. And how you can do that? If you're the personality of Godhead, you can do it. Because for different reasons, but his potencies are unlimited and his expansions are unlimited. So put those two things together and the unlimited is unlimited. Let's step back. Some of you know that different of the four sampradayas, each of the four sampradayas has a particular doctrine or ism or tattva that they adhere to. For example, in Madhvacharya's line, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Madhvacharya's line. So what's Madhvacharya's teaching? Dvaitavad. Dvaita. There's not one, but there's two. The Lord and that which comes from the Lord. Dvaitavad. And all the Vedas are explained with that force, with that lens. Dvaitavad. And Ramanujacharya and his disciplic succession, they have a different doctrine. What's that different doctrine? Who knows what the name of that is? Vashishta Advaita. What is Vashishta? Vashishta means attributes. So the absolute is non-dual, and the absolute has attributes. And those attributes of the source of everything are not different than him. Vashishta Advaita. And then the other two sampradayas, they have their doctrine, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has his. Or he didn't use that phrase. It's a detail in history, but Jiva Goswami used that phrase. Was the first to use that phrase to describe Lord Chaitanya's teachings. It's the Lord Chaitanya's teachings means the teachings of the Vedas, or even more specifically, the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it goes like this. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. The teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. They're not different. And both teach there's a oneness and difference between the source of emanation and that which is emanated simultaneously, because that which is emanated is not the source. There's a difference. But there's a non-difference between the source and what comes from the source. Both material and spiritual, with all as Ramanujacharya teaches, with different attributes or different features. Like the living entity and the supreme. They're different. There's a oneness and there's a difference. And take anything, spiritual and material, and the relationship between, because everything comes from the same source. And therefore a fundamental teaching is Advaita. The teachings of Shankaracharya, from which all the Vaishnavacharyas deviate, or they take the Vedas, but they say the Vedas teach something else. His teaching, who knows what the name of his teaching is? Advaita, but Kevala Advaita. Absolute monism. Absolute monism. Nothing but monism. And if you see otherwise, you've misunderstood. All there is, in reality, the absolute truth is non-dual. And following him, dual or the Absolute is non-dual with attributes. And those attributes are connected to the Absolute, who is non-dual, so the attributes are also non-dual. It's just different ways of saying what the doctrine is. So the Chinta Veda Veda Tattva is the theme of the verses that we'll be discussing. We started discussing Thursday, and now we're going to continue. A little background. And of course, it's found in this dialogue, or the prayers, of Prahlada to Lord Nrsingadev. He's just a little boy. How old are you? You're 8. Prahlada was younger. He hadn't even started school. Well, he had just started school. He was like 5. And boy, he's way up there. And how it happened is what you see on the screen. The Lord, the Nrsingadev, places hand or his paw on his head. And he, Prahlada, felt completely ecstatic. His hair stood on end, his tears streaming from his eyes, and he was immediately elevated to Prema Bhakti. He was already a pure devotee, but now Prema Bhakti, by the touch of the Supreme Lord. And then very wonderful prayers. So this wonderful prayer is starting with this section, Nrsingadev's impartiality in giving his mercy. That's where we started on Thursday. And it had to do with the verse that we know from Bhagavad Gita, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. You know the verse? Who can recite the verse? Should we recite the verse together? Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu na me dveshosti na priyaha. You know the verse? Okay. It's Bhagavad Gita, ABC, chapter 9, verse 29. He is equal to Sarva Bhuteshu, all living entities. Samoham. Sama aham. And he finds there's no one he's partial to, no one who has dvesha towards. He's impartial. And then, so that's what we discussed, the first 2 verses. Now, how to approach and serve the Lord, because the medium of understanding transcendence is through the medium of devotional service. Prahlada understands. So here's verse number 28. We're going to cover several, that's if Krishna permits, we'll cover several verses. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, he doesn't have material desires, but he's speaking as if he does. He's speaking from the position of being the son of Hiranyakashipu, who has really big-time material desires, and being the son of a demon, he has that in his genes, or he has that in his blood, or has that disposition, he says. But he's already indicated he doesn't. So it's his humility. Because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant, Narada Muni, kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Now, Lord Nrsingadev isn't encouraging him to leave his service, but he's indicating what his priorities. I was taken from a dark place, and we might say that each of us ourselves, some dark place, not knowing who we are, at least that much darkness, and now having at least an inkling of who we really are. The spirit soul, eternally the servant of Krishna. Like, that's a really easy question to give the answer to in your Bhakti Shastri exam. Who are you really? This evening, that's the topic at the temple. Who am I? Kayami. You know that phrase? This is when Sanatana Goswami first met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was vastly learned. He was born in a Brahmana family, and he was respected in the community of devotees, both the Brahmanas and the others, devotees, as a vastly learned person. So when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he fell at his feet, put straw in his teeth, and expressed these two things. Kayami, what am I? Who am I, or what am I? As if he didn't know. He's a very learned person. So who am I? And second question, why is it that I'm forced to accept the threefold miseries of material existence? Threefold miseries meaning adhyatmika, adidaivika, adibhautika. Miseries. Miseries of the body and mind, miseries from other living entities, miseries from the cold in Detroit in the winter, natural disturbances. Adidaivika. So why is it I'm subjected to that? I don't want. But why is it that I'm subjected to that? Who am I? And why am I experiencing miseries I don't want? Why? Two questions. That's how their dialogue started. So here, Narada Muni is indicating that he also is in the same boat. I didn't know who I was, but he instructed me, and now that he's instructed me, this is a gratitude message. How can I leave him? So another way of saying the same thing, he's not being asked to leave him. He's just saying that's the most important thing in my life. And the attachment to those who have brought each of us to Krishna Bhakti, we have a great debt to those persons. And then the categories of persons who helped us, just a long list. But in addition to the long list, there's the principal person, that's the spiritual master. Or, keep it really simple, Srila Prabhupada. Because Srila Prabhupada has helped all of us. And any of us that are here, he's behind, the scene. Anyone that's a present-day spiritual master derives their Shakti from our founder Acharya. And, we keep going back, and it's Lord Nityananda. He is the manifestation of Guru Tattva. So gurus receive their Shakti, their power, from Lord Nityananda. Just like we heard some of you may have been a participant in the discussion, because yesterday was the appearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami. Besides, it was a cold night. It was appearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami. And how did he get Lord Chaitanya's association? The mercy of a Vaishnav, starting with the mercy of Haridas Thakur, but then the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, all the obstacles were removed. And he blessed him that you'll very soon you'll attain the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He'll engage you directly in his service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will put you in the care of Sarup Damodar and train you A to Z in spiritual life. So go back home and be peaceful, because very soon you'll achieve all these wonderful things. And the obstacles were cleared by Nityananda. And not only the obstacles were cleared, but gave him what became his life. He was already inclined like that, not inclined in the material way, and super inclined to be with Lord Chaitanya. By the mercy of Nityananda, he got it. He got that association. And he dedicated the rest of his life in that way. So we've all also had someone who was kind to us, one who was carrying bhakti, to pass on some bhakti. And all we did was just happen to be at the right place at the right time and said yes. It's really pretty simple. And say yes means you do. And so we did. We may not have been the best, but we did. And now slowly, continuing to cultivate bhakti. How can I leave his service? There's this nice teaching, Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Das Anudas. Maybe some of you have heard that phrase. This is Lord Chaitanya's definition of who he is, or who the living entity is. The living entity is the servant. Das Anudas, many times removed, servant of the gopis, means servant of Krishna. One should serve the spiritual master first, and by his mercy, one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to serve the Lord. It's exactly what happened with Raghunath Das Goswami. It's exactly what happened with Narada Muni. It's the same pattern. The details are different, but the same pattern. Receive the mercy of one who's carrying bhakti, and then you cultivate bhakti with, acting on that which you have received and feeling gratitude. And on the basis of feeling gratitude, love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. One can achieve the seed of devotional service by the mercy of the Guru, the spiritual master, and then by the mercy of Krishna. This is the secret of success. Prabhupada writes this in his purport to this verse 28. So the topic was how to access devotional service, because it's so important, and it's through the medium of the distributor of that devotional service, our representative of Lord Nityananda. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado. One should not attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by concoction. One must first be prepared to serve the spiritual master, and when one is qualified, he automatically is offered the platform of direct service. The science is simple. The goal may very well be, or is, that we serve the personality of Godhead directly. But before the directly, it's not like indirectly, but through the representative of. It's Vedic culture. In Vedic culture, for example, there's a very nice example in Gaura Leela. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict as a sannyasi, and he refused to meet with the king. As a sannyasi, I'm not going to meet with the king. But the king was a great devotee, and he was begging this way, that way, left, sideways, down the chimney, in the back door, and he tried every way. So finally Lord Chaitanya said, send his son, because the son is representative of the father. And when he embraced the son swooned in ecstasy and fainted. And when the son went back, his father embraced his son and swooned in ecstasy and fainted. Because his son had become surcharged with the potency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it wasn't, he wanted the direct association, but it came in steps before it came the direct. And by the advice of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he eventually directly received Lord Chaitanya's association. It was a trick. it was arranged. But we start through the cyclic succession. That's the principle. So hum katam no vishrajay tava britya sevam. How can I give up the service of my spiritual master who has favored me in such a way that I'm now able to see you face to face? Prahlada Maharaj prayed to the Lord that he might continue to engage in the service of his spiritual master, Narada Muni. Now, in the upper left, that's Narada Muni giving instructions to Kayadu when she was pregnant, and within her womb was Prahlada. And Prahlada heard everything and retained everything. He didn't forget. And in the center, of course, there's Prahlada speaking directly to Lord Nrsingadev. And over on the right, there's Prahlada wanting to honor, with a nice garland, his spiritual master, the one who gave him Krishna Bhakti. And through Krishna Bhakti, he got the association of the personality Godhead. So he didn't forget. Spiritual relationships are very powerful. If they're genuine, you don't forget. It's with you. Just like, I'll speak from my personal experience. I've been serving Srila Prabhupada. I've been engaged in bhakti yoga for older than some of you here in the room. And it's a long time to do one thing. Chanting 16 rounds every day for 57 years. Every day. And other things and other things and other things. Lots and lots of varieties of services, but the services were designated by Srila Prabhupada or his representatives. I don't remember all this, but there's one of the biographies about Srila Prabhupada was compiled by Hari Sori Prabhu. I'm looking around the room. Hari Sori Prabhu. Some of you know Hari Sori. He from Australia. He had a really thick Australian accent, but he very devoted to Prabhupada. There were 2 or 3 that lasted for a long time. And Hari Sori was one of them. And so he wrote a 3-volume biography of his experience of being in the intimate association of Srila Prabhupada. So he put in his book, somebody forwarded this to me, there was a devotee named Uttama Shloka, Prabhupada disciple, who sent Prabhupada a letter. He wanted Prabhupada to be pleased because he knew Srila Prabhupada was very pleased by book distribution. So in this letter to Prabhupada, he expressed that in the past number of days, these are the books distributed, the big book. At that time, it was big books, meaning as opposed to magazines and smaller books. It was like Bhagavad Gita and volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam and so forth. And I didn't remember this, but it was in his letter or in his book that I also one day distributed 100 big books, along with a list of some very powerful Vaishnavas. I wasn't really a very good book distributor. I was dedicated, but I don't remember. I was secretary leader, but not particularly good at distributing books, but it's in his book. So Prabhupada was very pleased, and he dictated a letter saying that these personalities, they're all Mahatmas. I don't think of myself as a Mahatma, but Prabhupada was very pleased because he wanted. So the life of the servant is find out what the master wants, and you do that. Whatever that is, you do that. And supposing sometime later he says, don't do that, do the other. So then you do the other. And sometimes later do a third thing, and you do the third thing. Squeaky clean. That's it. I'm going to tell another story. I'm not going to get too far because I'm in the storytelling mood. Another one of Prabhupada's personal servants, because he traveled with a secretary who was a GBC member on rotation for a month, and then a personal servant that stayed with him for a few years. So one of those personal servants was named Shruta Kirti. Shruta Kirti Das, or Prabhu. And I heard this story, this narration from him. He was the MC of an event that was in Boston, the 60th anniversary of Prabhupada's arrival in the Boston Harbor. It was a nice event, and it was very interesting. They had us come on board a boat and just sat in the boat. Eventually when the eulogies of Prabhupada were over, the boat went out in the harbor. But we were just sitting in the boat, and one by one, Shruti Kirti would call on people to speak something. So in between, he'd have, if the person was way in the back, so he started telling the story. And the story goes like this. It's really, one of my favorites. Prabhupada's health was really bad at a certain point in time, and he was just lying down. This is not our founder Acharya. He was very active, but he was just lying down, and he hadn't eaten anything for 10 days. And he had become very weak, and his voice was also weak. So the way that the story goes, he motioned gently with his hand because his voice was very weak, and Shruta Kirti came and put his ear right by Prabhupada's mouth, and Prabhupada asked him, can you make some utma? And Shruti Kirti was not a cook. It's just like this young boy. He's something of a learning mridanga player, but some people can't do what he did. Anyway, so Shruta Kirti wasn't a cook. So he said, sure, Prabhupada, just over in the kitchen, Jamuna is there, and I can go ask Jamuna if she can make some nice udma for you. Prabhupada said, no, firm, in the way that his voice inclination, or no, I want you to make. Okay, it was like, okay, I don't know. He didn't say, I don't know beans about cooking anything, but if you say, I'll do. So he went to the kitchen. There are 3 parts to this. So one is, he just immediately said yes. So he went to the kitchen, and there was Jamuna, celebrated super cook and singer and many other things, Jamuna. So he was really happy. He said, Prabhupada has got to eat something. He asked me to make some udma. So she said, oh, Prabhupada taught me his favorite way to make udma. I can make it. And Shruta Kirti repeated the same sound. No. Prabhupada said he wants me to do it. Now, how is she going to respond? She immediately said, okay. No, like, why, or what's going on here? Is he angry with me, or something? It was yes. This is a servant. The spiritual master wants. That's it. Make some utma. Fantastic. So she said, I'll help you. So she did what she did, and he did what he did, and they prepared the udma and offered it to their on their altar, and brought a bowl of udma, placed it by Prabhupada's head, lying on the bed, and went about to do some other service. And he came back, and there it was, same bowl, untouched. And he made a comment, Prabhupada, you haven't eaten any of the udma. And Prabhupada's reply, listen, Prabhupada said, I thought if you made some utma, then I might get some appetite. And Shrutikirti cried. Because it was a gesture of love. I mean, he didn't make that emphasis. That's my emphasis, but it's very clear what Prabhupada was doing. He was touching his heart. You know, emaciated condition, and you make some movement for me, maybe you'll get an appetite. You know, like the pastime of Krishna coming to Hastinapur with a peace mission, and Duryodhana wants to butter him up and get him on his side, and he offered to make a nice feast for Krishna, and Krishna said, you know what Krishna said. There are two reasons one might eat. You're hungry? I'm not hungry. Even if you're not hungry, if there's love, you may eat. There's no love here. Because you have such animosity towards Arjuna and Bhima that there's no love. It's animosity. So I'm going to go where there's love. We know where he went for banana peels. Because of love. So that's our founder Acharya. He not only gave transcendental knowledge, he exhibited love for Krishna, and love for Krishna means love for Krishna's devotees, and he had such affection for his devotees and the mission and those that would assist in the mission. It's really nice. That's our founder Acharya. So, Tava Britya Sevam. How can I give up that position, the benefit, and be ungrateful? That's not possible. Prahlada Maharaj prayed to the Lord that he might continue to engage in the service of his spiritual master Narada Muni, directly in Prabhupada's purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, this is the Supreme Lord, or Lord Nrsingadev may say, you have said that service to me is the cause of my mercy to you. You have excluded favoritism by the example of a desire tree. But what's the cause of this service? The response. Following persons with concepts of high and low, filled with all desires, who have fallen in the material snake hole, I have also fallen into their association. I have been accepted by Narada, who has made me his own possession. The Lord may say, let this jiva be mine. By force he has taken me by the hand, brought me near to him, taught me the king of mantras, and had me serve him. Having fallen in the hole of samsara, I have now become your devotee. Without his mercy, this was not possible. How can I give up service to my guru, your servant? The karmis and gyanis, on attaining their goal, give up the sadhana. But I cannot be like that. On the path of bhakti, when the sadhana gives result, the devotees who attained the Lord, such as Dhruva, still had a desire for sadhana in associating with devotees and other processes. It's an inside picture, a very personal picture by our acharyas of what's being expressed. How is devotional service attained? That was the question. The mercy of a devotee. And one who feels that mercy and feels grateful for that mercy, then they get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Then, text 29, this is from that same section. Nrsingadev's Bhaktavatsala quality. I'm looking around the room. Anybody want to volunteer the meaning of Bhaktavatsala? Bhaktavatsala? Raise your hand. I can call on people. Do you want to say?
The Lord loves his devotee.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah. He has affection. Vatsalya, like Vatsalya rasa. Same dhatu, same root. He has affection. Like a parental-like affection. So he, Nrsingadeva, has a parental-like affection for his devotee. Bhakta Vatsala. Here's the verse. My Lord, oh, unlimited reservoir of transcendental qualities, you have killed my father Hiranyakashipu and saved me from his sword. He had said very angrily, if there is any supreme controller other than me, let him save you. I shall now sever your head from your body. I think that both in saving me and in killing him, you have acted just to prove true the words of your devotee. There is no other cause. In that relationship between the servant and the master likes to uphold the words of the servant. The servant says, and the Lord makes it possible because he is the controller of anything and everything, and he likes the truthfulness of his devotee to be manifest. So when the devotee, like this nice example, very nice example from Mahabharata, Arjuna made a vow before the sun sets. What's the vow? Jayadratha. I will kill Jayadratha. So, battle. But by the Lord's arrangement, it looked like the sun had set. But the sun hadn't set. And so the Kauravas were having a big celebration. Yay, Arjuna's going to take his life. I'll enter into fire if I don't. But then it was an illusion. And then the sun appeared again. And he finished Jayadratha. Simply to uphold the word of his devotee. That's Krishna and his devotee. Dear devotee. So we better be careful what words we keep, what vows we make, and what utterances we utter. Because the Lord, depending upon our bhakti, he may feel obliged to uphold our word. Be careful what you say. Narada Muni gave assurance that Prahlada would always be saved from the enemy's hands. So that goes way back. Narada Muni said. So Lord Nrsingadeva is upholding the word of Narada Muni. He said, he'll always be saved from the enemy's hands. And boy, was he saved from this and that and the other thing and the other thing and the other thing and the other thing. Simply to uphold the word of Narada. Now, this also has everything to do with the quality of Prahlada and his devotion to the Supreme Lord. But he had a spiritual master, and his spiritual master made this utterance. And the teaching here is, Lord Nrsingadeva upholds that word of such people as Narada. The killing of Hiranyakashipu and the saving of Prahlada were enacted simultaneously to prove the truthfulness of the Lord's devotee, Narada, and the fidelity of the Lord himself to his own purpose. What's his own purpose? Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskatam. The Lord acts only to satisfy the desires of his devotees, otherwise he has nothing to do. He has plenty to do because his devotees want to be engaged in his service, and they want to be engaged favorably in his service. So he paves the way. He opens the door. Now, one more time. He does so through the agency of representatives. Doors open that may not have even been a door there before by the mercy of the devotees. We probably have all had the experience. I know I had the experience from, once upon a time being a college kid. Seems like a few lifetimes ago. And Prabhupada visited the university that I was attending. And I didn't know who he was, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just, by coincidence, I was passing through the student union from one side to the other side to go visit a friend. And when I was passing through the ground floor of the student union, I saw this big crowd of people outside the Millard Fillmore room. And I wondered, what's going on in there? Never seen a crowd like that. So I wiggled my way through the doorway, and inside there was Prabhupada and Allen Ginsberg, chanting Hare Krishna. I don't know anything about anything. But my life changed. In retrospect, lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. And then doors started to open. That there wasn't a door there before. And then I walked to the door because I was a curious young man and found stuff on the other side of the door, and then another door, and then another door, and just like, it was quite an adventure without really knowing what's going to happen next. But, feeling very comfortable with what I found on the other side of the door. There's details and details, but skipping the details. Because there's many options for a young person, many options for anybody of any age. Searching, you find there's a zillion options. And how do you select from the zillion options? But one became very prominent. Even while experimenting with other things, one became very prominent. It's mercy. And where's that mercy from? The representative of Bhaktisiddhanta, who came to do what he did, to this remote place to find persons like me that didn't know anything about anything. And that's a big reason why, personally, from the sense of gratitude in my heart, my life was rescued from the darkness of ignorance, and I want to be an instrument of my spiritual master to do what he did. And thus, visiting universities, I don't know what's on this place and that place and the other place. Support the devotees that are doing that service, and who knows? Somebody over there is going to get a Bhagavad Gita or something. That's Krishna's hand. So being the instrument of the predecessor Acharya. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. The Lord has nothing to do personally, for everything is done through his different potencies. Parasya shaktir vivadaiva shruyate. He has things to do but nothing to do, because he doesn't do anything, but his potencies do, and he just has a desire. And when his potencies understand he has a desire, off they go, fulfilling his desire, because his potencies. So this is the Chinta Beta Beta Tattva topic again. Even in the material field or the spiritual field, the energies of the Supreme Lord move according to his indication. Here we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur again. Since you are under the control of your devotee, your mercy to people simply follows the mercy of the devotee. You are not merciful to those who do not take shelter of the devotees. I am not an exception. By the request of your devotee, you are merciful to all. That is expressed in this verse. That is to say, a true devotee isn't just interested in their liberation or their stuff, getting stuff. They're interested in the welfare of others. Classic. There's many classics. One of those classics is Maharaj Parikshit. He's about to die, and he wants to know, What can be done? When he hears the 5th canto description of hellish planets, he wants to know from Shukadev, what can be done to rescue them from the suffering in those hellish planets? Because he hears, and there's people there suffering. What can be done? What's the remedy? He's going to die shortly. The days were passing by as he was hearing. And he's concerned about the welfare of others. And the mercy of the Lord follows the mercy of those who have such concerns. I think you killed my father to make the words of Narada come true. When my mother prayed to Narada, he gave the blessing. Your son will create good fortune by destroying the demons. I think you protected me, since my father, desiring to kill me, said, I will cut off your head. Just as you protected me from the snakes and elephants, it was not possible for him to kill me by his hand. You killed him. Though the Lord is equal everywhere, he has the quality of being controlled by his devotee, like Narada. This is what Prahlada indicates. So, is he partial? Remember that question? Is he partial or impartial? Well, it looks like he's partial. But he's just reciprocating with, as one yeyatamam prapadyante, tangstadaiva bhajamyaham, right from Bhagavad Gita. As they have regard for me, I reciprocate. So some people say, go away. So he goes away. I mean, he makes himself not visible. And others want him to be very visible or very close to them. When he personally does something, it is only to satisfy his devotee. He very much favors his devoted servant as Bhaktavatsala. Naturally so. I mean, is it natural or unnatural that parents have affection for their children? Very natural. It's not like they don't have affection for others' children. We see that. But they have special affection for their children, naturally. So all living entities are Krishna's part and parcel, so all living entities are his children. But those children that are particularly affectionate towards him, he shows his affection towards them. It's completely natural. It's not like, oh, you others that don't show your affection to me, get lost. Get out of here. He doesn't do that. He reciprocates with their aspiration, whatever that is. And just sometimes it's, very unpleasant aspiration. And this is a detail that's nice to know, because this is a nice section of Canto 7, Chapter 9. The story is, the whole narration about Lord Nrsingadev spans 5 chapters. There's 6 chapters. It goes from chapter 5 all the way to chapter 10. That's 6 chapters. And Sridhar Swami, I don't have the translation of his commentary, but he makes elaborate commentary. And because he's in a Nrsinga Bhakta. And he feels protected. And he is protected by Lord Nrsingadev. And he has deep, profound affection for him. Now, I'm not sure what to do about these upcoming verses, because they're nice, but they're kind of long. 30 through 34, that's 5 verses. I'm not sure what to do. I'm inclined to pause and see, what's going in and what's bouncing. So if something has gone in, there's some kind of a discussion or question. What about this? What about that? Is this a discussion-oriented group? Huh? Sometimes. You're experienced. Comments or questions before we go further?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandut Pranam. Maharaj, in the slide we saw Hiranyakashipu was devotee of Narsingadev.
Hiranyakashipu?
Yeah, was he?
No.
No. Because,
He wanted to kill him.
okay, Prahlada.
Huh? No, not previously. Go way back, Jai and Vijay. That's what you're talking about?
No, I think
No.
I got confused.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, maybe my interpretation was wrong, but
Yeah, he wasn't a devotee. He wanted to kill him.
but
He had a sword, and they had a battle, and then Lord Nrsingadev was playing with him like a cat plays with a mouse, and bats the mouse around, bats the mouse around, bats the mouse around, and then pounces on the mouse. He wanted to kill him because the consciousness. He said some things to his son. Oh, what is this, Vishnu? I am the Supreme. If he's the Supreme, then let him protect you. I'm going to cut off your head.
yeah, I think that's where my confusion was, because he said, if there is a supreme beyond above me,
He didn't
then
take.
let him.
He thought he's the Supreme. He's so powerful, he defeated the demigods. He's above the demigods. And that's the Supreme. Who can defeat the demigods? The Supreme. That's me.
So
See?
I think Maharaj, the confusion was because he says, if there is a supreme beyond me, let him save you.
Yes.
And because Narsimhadev had killed him, so in a way that Lord has, Lord agreed, or I
He
should say-
purposely upheld the conditions
yeah,
that Hiranyakashipu wanted.
right.
But it was a promise to Lord Brahma,
Okay.
and so he upheld. Brahma promised. It was not Lord Nrsingadev. It was not Hiranyakashipu's promise.
Okay.
It was Lord Brahma's promise. So he upheld the word of Brahma.
Okay. It makes sense now.
Okay?
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hiranyakashipu got the benediction from Brahma, but why still he thinks he's supreme?
But why what? Why? What's your question?
Yeah, why Hiranyakashipu think himself he is a supreme? Because he got the benediction from Brahma.
He got the benediction from Brahma, so your question is?
Why he shall think that he is supreme? Brahma is supreme, right? That's all he shall think.
You're intelligent. He's so powerful. He forgot.
So Hiranyakashipu was not great.
Oh, to say the least. Yeah. And he forgot. Doesn't Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita, he says, chapter 15, verse number 15. So Hiranyakashipu forgot. I got this benediction from Lord Brahma. So I'm not supreme, he's supreme. or he's above me, at least. Yes.
Maharaj, I've got two questions from the start when you mentioned about the four succession sampradayas. So you mentioned about the two, Dvaita and Vishishta Dvaita for Madhvacharya and the Ramanujacharya Parampara.
You want to know what the other two are?
Yes, that is one question, Maharaj. The other question, Maharaj, the Vishishta Dvaita, you mentioned about it's based on the attributes of the soul and the super soul, or is that correct?
It's correct.
Okay, so the attributes of the soul and the super soul in the Vishishta
No,
Advaita.
it's the absolute truth has attributes. The attributes of the soul and the attributes of anything, the attributes of your microphone, the attributes are from the source of everything. The attributes of anything comes from the source of everything. So that microphone in your hand is connected to the source, and the chair you're sitting on is connected to the source of everything. But the chair is just an attribute of the source, and the soul, and the characteristics of the soul. They're attributes of.
Yeah. So Maharaj, my question was the attributes of the soul and super soul as per the Vishishta Advaita philosophy. Are they different, or like super soul?
Yes. They're different.
Superset of the attributes and the subset of the attributes.
There's some similarity because the soul is qualitatively like the Supreme, and therefore there's some similarity in attributes. But, like, let's just say, you can dance, or you can sing, or you can speak. So where does those three attributes come from? They come from the Supreme. And the speaking the speaking and dancing and everything is less, quantitatively less and qualitatively less, but of the Supreme. We have we're in the likeness of the Supreme. As above, so below, like that. But we can't sing like Krishna. We can't play the flute like Krishna plays the flute.
Kaliya Nag.
Huh?
We cannot dance on the Kaliya Nag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Maharaj, the Vishishta Dvaita and the Achanta Bheda Bheda that you mentioned, if you can maybe elaborate on, are they similar? Are they different? And what's the difference in the two? Achanta Bheda Bheda and Vishishta Dvaita.
They're similar but different. The expression is, it's a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So their commentary has a label, and it's a lens through which how they see the absolute truth, because that's what Vedanta Sutra is revealing or expressing, the absolute truth. So the absolute truth is the center of the target, and the absolute truth has attributes. That's one teaching. And then there's another that says, well, there's a oneness and simultaneously a difference between. You can use the word attributes or the manifestations of the Supreme. There's oneness and there's difference simultaneously.
Achanta Bheda Bheda and Vishishta Dvaita.
They're similar, but they're different. So you want to know, like, can you put a pin on what the difference is? That's what you're asking?
Yeah. The differences I'm not able to comprehend that.
Okay. No, quantity. So there are different expansions that come from the Supreme. There are different tattvas. Jiva tattva, Shakti tattva, the expansions of the Supreme Lord in different degrees, and more complete, less complete. Now, the relationship. Here's the principle. Put a pin on it. The principal difference is, one way to describe what the principal difference is, Vishishta Dvaita is making the emphasis that which is the source of everything, Supreme Brahman, Para Brahman, this Bhagavan, has a relationship of oneness with everything, and that's the emphasis. And the difference between those two is, yes, there's a oneness, and also there's a difference. It's just like that's what's coming up. The next set of verses. The relationship of all things with Krishna, there's this oneness and difference. So there's texts that are going to emphasize the oneness, and there's texts that are going to emphasize the difference. And simultaneously, not just one, Vishishtas of the absolute truth, but there's differences in that relationship between the emanation and the source of emanation. So it's more, another way of saying, it's more refined way of the picture of that which has come from the source. There's diversity, there's differences in that which has come from the source. Simultaneously, there's a oneness, and simultaneously there's a difference between the emanations and the source of those emanations.
Thank you, Maharaj. And if you can about the other two sampradayas.
That's another class.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danda Pranam. Maharaj, my question is related to in Srimad Bhagavatam. When we read Srimad Bhagavatam,
excuse me. I'll be happy to do this another time. Yeah. But for making it simple for you, may I refer you to a book that Bhaktisiddhanta wrote? It's not really thick. It's about medium skinny, and it's the Four Sampradayas. That's the title of the book. Bhaktisiddhanta, the Four Sampradayas. And for your information, one of the pillars of Bhaktisiddhanta's teachings is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chronologically came after each of the four Sampradaya Acharyas who wrote the doctrine or the commentary on Vedanta according to that doctrine. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chronologically came later, and he incorporated 2 items from each of the 4 Sampradayas. And there's a chart, and then there's explanation of each of those 2 items with some, Bhaktisiddhanta's style of writing is very comprehensive and a little mind-blowing, but it's there. And when he established his temple, Gandharvaka Giridhari deity, yes? That was the name of his deity at the headquarters, Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. On the 4 corners of the temple, he put a little figure of each of the 4 Sampradaya Acharyas, indicating that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu unified the differences. And so what are those differences? Because that's one of your questions. But in Bhaktisiddhanta's very profound and precise style, you'll find the answer. Now, I'm happy, maybe another time when I come, we can have that discussion. And we, I can extract some essences and circulate the essences in a written form, and then we can discuss them kind of like a seminar, and everyone will feel happy. And you'll probably in one ear and out the other ear at the end of the class.
You said 4 sampradayas.
4 principle.
The book is 4 sampradayas.
Huh?
The name of the book is...
That's my memory. My memory is very poor, but that's my memory.
You mentioned where in the temple, the 4 acharyas, is that the one that's in Mayapur?
Yes, in Mayapur.
The one that is in temple?
No. It's in Bhaktisiddhanta's headquarters, the Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, not ISKCON. It's down the road.
That's the same place where the neem tree is.
They have neem trees all over the place in Bengal. I can tell we're going to have a very lovely discussion on this topic. Okay. You're on again.
Yeah. Okay, Maharaj. So, no, the question is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are studying Prahlad Maharaj as a devotee.
Prahlad Maharaj, what?
As a devotee of Narsingh Bhagwan. He's a
Of
bhakta.
of course.
But in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I am Prahlad in the demons. Prahlada Sasmi Daityanam. When Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, I am Prahlad Maharaj. But we are studying Prahlad Maharaj as a devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam. How can I understand that Krishna is the same Prahlad Maharaj?
He's within everything and he's outside of everything. He's very near and he's very far away as well, etc. He can manifest himself, Krishna, can manifest himself within Prahlad and empower Prahlad to be Prahlad. Because Prahlad is a manifestation of his bhakti, and he manifested his bhakti. So his Krishna's bhakti is not different than Krishna. Digest that one. No.
Because
But you're asking a question that's got to have an answer. That's the answer.
Yeah.
He can expand himself, no problem.
So for bhakti, Krishna can expand, has his own bhakti. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came as bhakta. So that is possible.
Yeah.
So let's take another example. In the same Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, in the Rudras, I am Shiva.
No problem. Everything comes from Krishna.
Yeah.
That's the idea. That is the idea.
So where this fits in the analogy of four
These are
principles.
vibhutis.
Yeah.
This is from the vibhuti chapter.
Yeah.
And vibhutis are what? Opulences. And it's one of his opulences to say, my opulence is me. And my opulence is me. And there's a non-difference between me and my opulence. That's what's being said. And one can know him through his opulences. I'm the taste of water. I'm the ability in man. I'm the strength of the strong. I am, my opulences are me.
Yeah, Maharaj, this matches more to Advaita philosophy and Vishishta Advaita philosophy. When Krishna says,
the Shankaracharya has a different rendering of that chapter than the Vaishnavas have. There's absolute oneness.
Krishna is saying that means. Yeah, if Krishna is saying that, like I am that opulence, I am this opulence, means
Well,
absolutely one.
you're repeating, and I will repeat, and they're not going to do it again. The chapter is Vibhuti Yoga, and there's a connection, a yoga connection between his vibhutis and him, and he gives a long list, and those vibhutis are representations of him or him, because the representation of him is him. That's the non-difference feature of the Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. So it's not that Krishna is Prahlad or Krishna is Rudra. There's difference. But it's an opulence of him. Whatever exists is from him, and therefore there's a non-difference feature. Let's not do it again, please.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have two questions.
How many?
Two.
Only two.
One question was, in the beginning of class, you were mentioning how we just happened to be in the right place at the right time and said yes. What makes some people say no?
Stubborn obstinacy. There's on the one hand an affinity to be an enjoyer, and then the other hand is the aversion to being the servant. Raga and dvesha. Exactly what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, correct? Raga dvesha to samutena dvandva mohena bharata. Huh? Okay, you know the verse. But I'm just repeating that raga and dvesha, that there's an attachment to being the independent enjoyer and a disdain for he who is actually the enjoyer. He's my competitor. So that such a person is going to say no. Like Hiranyakashipu said no. Then his capacity to say no was taken away. Next.
It's a related point, how bhakti can only come from bhakti. But we see in Bhagavad Gita, the verse Prapya Punya Kritam Lokan, where it's saying that the unsuccessful yogi, after enjoying in the heavenly planets, may take birth in a righteous family or aristocracy, but in the purport, Prabhupada explains that the righteous family could be a family of Vaishnavas. So it
could
seems,
be, but might not be also.
But it could be. So my one understanding that I had was that by performing good activities, then that could lead you to a situation where you're more accessible to bhakti. But then that doesn't align with what Vishwanath Chakravarti
Karma Mimamsa philosophy doesn't cut it. You know what Karma Mimamsa philosophy is because you're an educated young man. Karma Mimamsa philosophy says, don't give up this idea of a supreme being. Just do good work, because anybody that's in that giver of the benedictions of karma, the law of karma is God. That's supreme. Just do good work. Just do good work. It's an atheistic philosophy. So it's not just by taking birth in a righteous family that therefore, yes, dry wood is easier to ignite than wet wood. But it's not that dry wood is going to ignite of its own. It requires bhakti. Back to your question. Bhakti starts bhakti. Within the wood, that's even the wet wood, there's fire. But it's covered. And to get the covered fire to come out, you need fire. And then it can come out. That's it. That's a Sankhya teaching that you understand. So bhakti ignites bhakti. Bhakti is within each of us, but it's covered like wet wood. And so by contact with one who's carrying bhakti, or a bhakta can give bhakti. And there's a whole Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explanation of how that happens. Krishna gives power of attorney. So he isn't guilty of the fault, the dosha, of being partial. He gives the authority to his Madhyama Bhakta, you can give me. I'm aloof. You don't have to, but you can. You have the power of attorney. So be a good Madhyama and give. And that's how it happens.
My confusion comes from, it seems like one, of course the main cause of bhakti is bhakti, but it's also supposed to be the sole cause. But if you remove the wetness and try to make the wood dry by performing prapya or punya, then wouldn't that also be a cause of bhakti?
No, definitely not. Swadhyaya doesn't create bhakti. It can create knowledge, but some persons who have knowledge become proud. Isn't it? Nice try. Your questions, seem to be, the alignment of your questions have a lot, it looks like, seems to me like cause and effect. But spiritual, there's no cause. Although by contact with bhakti, it's not that contact with bhakti is the cause, because there's already bhakti within. It's already there. Prema bhakti. Nitya Siddha Krishna prema. Sadhya kabunai. It's already there. But it's dormant. Covered. So the cause is who we really are. And by contact with the spark or the fire, then the fireness within us, or the quality of bhakti that's within us, ignites. It's mercy, not a material cause. However you might want to wiggle it around, there's no material cause. Nice try. What? What's your question?
No, basically, like I'm just expanding what he asked. I'm trying to say, like, basically, like,
You trying
is
to
it-
understand his question.
is it not Sukruti that you are in contact with some devotee? That's why that bhakti is.
Well, there's different kinds of sukriti, isn't it? And one of them is bhakti sukriti, isn't it? But there's others, karma and gyan kind of sukriti. And people that want this one or that one, they can get it. So and how do they get it? It has to be extended. But that's mercy, sukriti. A really nice, something that puts all of this in context is Madhurya Kandambani. Are you there? Yeah, you're there. Madhurya Kandambani is a nice book. It's okay. He doesn't need the microphone. No. Madhurya Kandambani is a nice book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that outlines from 0 to 9 or 10. How does bhakti begin and how does it unfold, etc., etc., etc. And then he deals with these kinds of questions that you're asking. There's no material cause. But there's a spiritual. So your questions are cause-effect related, but it's not a material cause. Is there such a thing as a spiritual cause that's not a material cause? Yes. And based upon the fundamental truth about a living entity is living entities are eternally related with Krishna. And there's no beginning to that. There's no cause of that. It's just eternally we're connected to Krishna, and the Krishna-ness or the bhakti, the prema bhakti, nitya siddha Krishna prema, that is who we are. It's already there. It's a given, eternally. And then it gets covered. Okay. Yeah. One more. No, he does. He has his hand. But you do. You've got the microphone.
Maharaja, so yog as a word is connecting.
Yes.
With-
Yes.
Yogi is connecting with Supreme.
Well, that's ideal. Yes.
Yeah, with Supreme through meditation, through practicing yogi.
Yeah.
So when they're meditating it, they're connecting with Supreme, whether in the form of a impersonal Brahman or for that matter, personal also. Like
Yeah,
they
because
could
that's
be
an
meditating.
aspect of the Supreme.
Yeah. So isn't that yogi is also a bhakta then?
No. Because what is a bhakta is recognizing the personal feature, the Bhagavan feature. That's a bhakta. And they're meditating on a feature of the absolute truth, but not the absolute truth in full. So they're not bhaktas. They're doing dhyan, not bhakti. Correct? Karma yoga, Gyan yoga, Dhyan yoga, Bhakti yoga. They're not identical.
They are at the Dhyan yoga level.
Dhyan yoga is different. It has a beginning point that looks similar, but it stops. Because upon what are they meditating? Last question.
There are two questions
Two questions.
from our audience online.
Audience online.
The first question is, sometimes I feel dissatisfaction with the Lord. How can I overcome it?
Somebody was asking this question the other day. Is it the same somebody? Huh? Different somebody. Okay. The block or the obstacle is on our side, not on the Lord's side. I may, in the material sense, I may have my expectations. That is, I do this and I get that. And if that doesn't come, while I'm doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this, and that doesn't come, then I'm feeling dissatisfied in my relationship with the Supreme. But then, very simply, Prabhupada's way of saying, Krishna is not an order supplier. Krishna, you have a big warehouse, and can I have some of this and some of that, and Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. And that's the relationship. And if it doesn't come, or the warehouses they're out of stock or something, then, or he's just not forthcoming, then I'm disappointed in my relationship, because my expectation is unfulfilled expectations that are not met lead to frustration. I'll say it again. Expectations that are not met lead to frustration. So in my in the position of the Supreme, if I have an expectation, I'm doing this and he's supposed to do that, then that's a business deal. And that's not bhakti. So the problem is not over there, the problem is over here. So that person needs to realign what bhakti is, redefine and realign what bhakti is, and then simply, with the intention that, with the definition of what bhakti is, without the expectation of jnana and karma, simply for the pleasure of Krishna. That's what bhakti is. Anyabhilashita shanyam, jnana karma janavratam, anukulyena Krishna anushila. It's the definition of what bhakti is. So revisit the definition of what bhakti is, and hit your reset button, and then you won't feel dissatisfied. If there's some difficulty, it's not from Krishna's side; it's from me, because I'm not performing bhakti. Second
question from Amara Mataji, seeking confirmation if Krishna himself explains Vashishta Advaita and Achintya Beda Abeda in Bhagavad Gita 9.4 and 9.5. The translations for the texts are, text 4, by me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings in me, but I'm not in them.
Yeah.
And text 5, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation.
Okay, that's what we didn't do. And the verses are Krishna's, and Baladev Vidyabhusan makes commentary. So this devotee that's asking this question, I recommend, Baladev is from our sampradaya, And he understands these verses in the Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva manner. So I recommend this devotee that's asking this question, they read Baladev Vidyabhusan's commentary. It's readily available online, as well as, books about it. And all beings are in me, and everything that is created does not rest in me. So it's a paradox. And how it's understood with different sampradayas, they have a different lens. It doesn't mean if this is right, then that's wrong. If that's wrong, then this is right. There can be different perspectives, and they have their perspective. And it's the essence is there's a supreme person, Bhagavan, and there's different ways of seeing Bhagavan and his relationship with all things. Ours is this Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, and they have theirs. So back to the question. Yes. But if you want, if you're, it depends on your scholarship, you can read the Sri Sampradaya commentaries on those two verses, and you can read Baladev's commentary on those two verses, or Prabhupada's commentary on those two verses, and you'll understand how the different Sampradayas see the same verses. It's Krishna, in Krishna's words, but they're perceived differently, with different emphasis or different angle of vision, and it's perfectly okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.